Good evening. This is Maestro with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite podcast. Today, we have a Best-of-5 faction war series between the Ordo Malleus and the Forces of Chaos. Our first player on the side of the Ordo Malleus is going to be Inekura, playing as the Brother Captain. Big, tanky melee hero that cannot be knocked down or suppressed, can buff his speed and defense with We Are the Hammer. ... will be yet another Brother Captain. And Sergeant Smith is going to finish things out for the Ordo Malleus on the Eversor Assassin. Bruiser melee hero who can sacrifice his own health to increase his damage and defense. Their opponents, we're going to start off with the Tenso, playing as Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. This is a spellcasting and battlefield manipulation hero. Sir Gunter the Kaiser is up next as this Plague Champion, ranged Chaos hero, can repair, can also heal. And finally, it'll be Hiveminion playing as yet another Sorcerer. Going to be infiltrated right there. Probably looking to shoot some Doom Bolts, but the only target in possible range is moving out. They know a little bit better than to just stand around near some worshipping heretics. Plague Champion himself going to get some worship, get a little bit of healing there, but at the moment it's just going to be a standoff. He will move forward, but he is not in cover, so this won't be a great fight for him. He also, he's not in range of heretic worship either. So he goes back into that range, but it's a little bit of a game of cat and mouse right here. ... not wanting to engage directly into the heretic worship, finds himself another target that is not going to get any Nurgle worship, in part because, well, they just weren't quite in range. The heretics also choosing to engage in melee rather than to worship. Heretics also going to be definitely, oh my god, they might actually be wiped here. Certainly they were going to lose that fight. They were fighting against a strike squad and a Brother Captain in melee, and they're also being focused down by two Inquisitorial Stormtroopers. This engagement on the whole is going quite terribly for Sir Gunter. He might lose the Plague Champion here as well, and indeed he does. Luckily, that's not too bad of a revive position for his teammates, but still, that definitely did not go the way Sir Gunter wanted it. Looks like on the other side of the map, though, on this side, does look like the Tenso is doing just fine. He has won an engagement. He is looking for a Generator Bash, but he's going to have to be careful here. He's kind of being pincered. We have a Purgation Squad out. Purgation Squad slowing and suppressing right here. Big Doom Bolts, though, go in on both of the ISTs here for Inekura. Inekura finding himself kind of backing up. Actually, he's keeping the Stormtroopers out here. One of them even still has all 5 models, despite having only 20% of its hit points. Which is kind of just a feature of how Doom Bolts work. Doom Bolts does a lot of burst damage, but it isn't actually that good at scoring model kills. You generally tend not to score model kills with Doom Bolts unless the squad is already very close to dying. It basically, I think the way you could basically think of it is that the damage is very much distributed among the models, which is very different to how if you were simply doing damage to a unit with ranged fire, the damage is a little bit less predictable in that regard, where you don't know exactly which model is taking all the damage. Different units also are sometimes better suited for single target, whereas others kind of spread their damage around a little bit more. Double Eternal War Chaos Space Marines out of Hiveminion. So in this series, we're not actually seeing that much of the double Chaos Space Marines. We see it out of only one player so far, and I think this is pretty much all we are going to see. At least for this game, double Chaos Space Marines is very much a teams game thing. It's not something that you would really build too much in 1v1 games. There are a lot of problems with it, but it works in team games because team games tend to be quite a bit more linear. In team games, you can also count on your teammates for assistance to cover up for the weaknesses of a double Chaos Space Marine build. And range damage is also just very, very important in team games. Alright, Chaos trying to approach here, but the Purgation Squad from ... is slowing them down. They certainly can't get onto the backline of the Inquisitorial Stormtroopers in the Purgation. I hear the sound of a Noise Marine, but where is it? Okay, it is down here. Alright, this fight is still going pretty well for the Ordo Malleus, and I think as long as the Purgation is not dealt with, I think it will continue to be a win for the Ordo Malleus in this particular engagement. Fully upgraded Eversor Assassin right here. Did see the neurotoxin shot from that Executioner pistol. Single target damage over time also slows that target. generally seen as a good weapon in this patch, but it is also often replaced when you get to Tier 2. This is, by the way, still the old patch. All Faction Wars for this year will still be on the old patch. And as soon as I finish all Faction Wars, that is when I will be transitioning to the new patch and then covering the Elite League. Generator bash opportunity for our Ordo Malleus players as the Purgation Squad moves up, focusing on the node. Then they should retarget to the generator, of course. And Purged by Fire is probably also ready if the heretics wanted to approach, so I think that's pretty much why they're choosing not to approach, but at the same time, they're also just taking damage while all this is happening. They're down to about 60% of their health, less than 60% even. Neurotoxin also goes out on the Chaos Space Marines. This is another losing fight here for Sir Gunter, I think. Okay, certainly the heretics are gone, but the Noise Marines might do a lot to change this fight. Okay, it seems like they're actually not doing enough to change this fight. But Sergeant Smith retreating some of his units anyway. What of course he can do at this point is he can just force melee with the Eversor Assassin. Does seem like the Eversor Assassin is in range stance, which he does do decent damage when you have that Executioner pistol in melee, but as we can see, he still does more in... he does do decent damage in ranged, but he still does more in melee. So it is still more ideal to have him in melee if the concern is just raw damage, and especially if the concern is trying to tie up a unit. Sometimes, though, having this Executioner pistol also does give you the option to keep the Eversor Assassin in range stance, keep him in cover at times when that might be safer. Brother Captain getting in melee here, but he is unupgraded with only 200 hit points left. He has to be careful, but my god, there are 3 Purgation Squads right here helping him out. 2 of them belong to Inekura, and the last one belongs to ... So it's a full bash here. This is pretty good for our Ordo Malleus players, quite obviously. Another Brother Captain right here, this one for Inekura. We'll work on tying up the Chaos Space Marines, making sure that they can't do their damage, but eventually, especially one of those Purgation Squads from Inekura is just getting far too low. He can't risk keeping them around too much longer. Sorcerer is here, along with some Raptors from the Tenso. Fully upgraded Sorcerer as well, so we're seeing some very early full upgrades. Sigil of the Rift, Vestments of the Warp, and Sword of Flame. He's going to attempt to use the Sigil of the Rift there, but he won't find anything with it. So Vestments of the Warp and the Sword of Flame is just when you are looking for teleporting in, tying up a squad, going to be particularly helpful against those Purgation Squads. And a Blood Crusher is already out for Hiveminion. Pretty fast tech for him. However, there is a Vindicare Assassin here. I feel like I've heard the Vindicare Assassin take some shots. It seems to be targeting the infantry rather than the Blood Crusher, which, you know, on the one hand, isn't such a bad idea, because he can inflict bleed on the infantry, which he can't do on the Blood Crusher. Blood Crusher will come out of infiltration to start putting some pressure on the Eversor Assassin. The Eversor Assassin, he absolutely cannot deal with that. Very few things can deal with the Blood Crusher at the moment, but one thing that can is this Purgation Squad with a Conversion Beamer. Blood Crusher, however, does have the charge ready to get it out of trouble. Vindicare Assassin is chasing after it. Now it definitely has the anti-vehicle rounds loaded in, and this Blood Crusher is going to have quite a bit of a harder time getting things done with the anti-vehicle setup that we are seeing. Sanctuary comes out from Inekura, who also has a Vindicare Assassin of his own. So we can actually tell what rounds the Vindicare Assassin has based on the indicator above his head. When he does have this indicator, the sniper indicator, that's showing that he has the anti-infantry rounds loaded in. Whereas this one, that thing that looks kind of like a missile, shows that the Vindicare Assassin has the anti-vehicle rounds loaded in. I forget the exact names of the rounds. I know one of them is called Exodus rounds, and I think the other one is actually called Penetrator rounds. But I also forget which is which, which I'm sure is very embarrassing. Oh my god, this caster doesn't know anything. Anyway, I do know that this Brother Captain is trying to hit this Plague Champion with his sword, and with the support of the Rhino, they'll take out the Plague Champion. Oh my, here are some Chosen Plague Marines out of Sir Gunter. Chosen Plague Marines, generally seen as like a melee counter or melee defense, but they're having trouble even just chasing after the Purifiers, who are just faster than the Chosen Plague Marines. Eventually, though, the Purifiers are very much going to be overwhelmed. There we go. We're also going to see a Purifier Zombie being procced. I've talked a little bit about Purifiers in a previous faction war. They are, at least in this patch, which is actually not the current patch, they are probably and most likely the least common Tier 2 purchase that you see for the Ordo Malleus, and I still think there are very good reasons for that, which is functionally they have a lot of overlap with Strike Squad and Interceptors. They are also a squad, so they can bleed, which is very different from what you would get out of all the other Tier 2 unit purchases for the Ordo Malleus, which are either vehicles or sub-commanders. So none of the other Tier 2 units for the Ordo Malleus can bleed, and they offer a lot. There are many ways in which they offer more by being either a vehicle, which forces an anti-vehicle purchase out of your opponent, or the sub-commanders, which just have various things. Obviously, a Librarian has a lot of utility since he's primarily a spellcaster. And then this Vindicare Assassin, well, he's one of your anti-vehicle choices, also functions as a sniper. And since this Vindicare Assassin, you can only purchase one of him, and since he is a single entity, I believe that he does quite a bit more burst damage than the other sniper units in the game. Okay, Raptor's going to be jumping in here, along with some Bloodletters and Raptors out of the Tenso. This is, in many ways, pretty powerful against many of the Ordo Malleus units, but the one thing that it's certainly going to struggle with is this Sanctuary out of the Librarian. Once the Sanctuary is on cooldown, or if they can find themselves a way to engage away from the Sanctuary, they are pretty good against most of the units that Inekura has. Certainly the Purgation, the Stormtroopers, the Vindicare Assassin. I would even venture to say, yeah, especially an unupgraded Brother Captain, Bloodletters can rip through him pretty quickly. Now, one of the problems with the Tenso's build is that every single one of his units does not do AV. You could theoretically argue maybe the Bloodletters just because of that power melee, but in practice, that's still not good, especially against a Rhino that can just kite them, which is why we are going to see the Havoc purchase out of the Tenso. At least I feel that's what should happen. At the moment, it does not have an upgrade, but I would think he would need to upgrade that to a las cannon or an autocannon. Although technically he is fighting against Inekura, who does not have a vehicle, but at some point he may have to deal with the vehicles from his opponents. Bloodletter's going to teleport in. They will find themselves a Vindicare Assassin, but he does retreat when he still has full health. No extended operations on him, however, so he is not that tanky. Another fight going on here. The Blood Crusher still in play from Hiveminion, and a Doom Bolt's thrown out by the Sorcerer will also deter these Ordo Malleus units from ... from doing a whole lot more. We also see some Khorne Marines out of Hiveminion. One Khorne, one Zeech. This is a pretty fun setup to play with, and again, this is not something that I feel like you see that commonly, in part because I talked about the weaknesses of Double Chaos Space Marines. So you don't necessarily see this setup this often, but I do think it's a very fun setup. Khorne Marines are a very fun unit. They are, in many ways, very, very effective. It's just often hard to justify them, almost kind of like Purifiers. They're almost kind of like Purifiers for Chaos. Perhaps I should say that the other way around, since of course Khorne Marines predate Purifiers by quite a bit. They have existed for a much longer time. But basically, Khorne Marines do have a lot of functional overlap with Bloodletters, Heretics, and Raptors, so sometimes it's hard to justify purchasing them. Whereas if you go Khorne, you give up Zeech, which is... Zeech, on the other hand, does not have a lot of functional overlap with other units. In fact, Chaos is generally a little bit more narrow in their range damage options, and Zeech Chaos Space Marines are pretty much your primary ranged unit for Chaos. The main overlap for Zeech Chaos Space Marines would be Chaos Terminators, but that is a Tier 3 unit. At any rate, let's take a look at these Bloodletters jumping in. Bloodletters will go in. They are going to start ripping apart some Stormtroopers. I believe the Vindicare Assassin just went inside the Rhino, so he will be safe. And it's looking like a one fight for the Ordo Malleus in this particular engagement, 298 to 320. Ordo Malleus continuing to push forward, as Sergeant Smith will also take the victory point right here. Did point out that the Eversor Assassin was fully upgraded, but I never talked too much about his upgrades other than that Neurotoxin. He's also got the Sin Skin Body Glove, a popular war gear in this old patch. It reduces the health cost and duration of Psychon. And that's a pretty important consideration since Psychon forces you to... Normally it costs 100 health to use, as in the Eversor Assassin loses 100 health to use that ability, and this reduces the cost of 50 health. So I think that's pretty important. Anyway, Khorne Chaos Space Marines in melee here against the Grey Knight Terminators. The Khorne Chaos Space Marines can do pretty good damage, but at the same time, they'll take a lot of damage themselves. Just kidding. Were those even Terminators? Yes, they were Terminators. These are Grey Knight Terminators. Okay, we're going to see another Summoning Circle Global come out from the Sorcerer, using that to spawn additional Bloodletters as well as reinforce nearby squads. Rhino is moving off, and oh no, the Raptors are going to be taken out for the Tenso. So he will lose the Raptors. He's got one squad of Havocs. The interface makes it look like he has two, but he doesn't. He really only has one. That is kind of a glitch with the Summoning Circle Global. And the Grey Knights now starting to look pretty strong. 298 victory points to 230. They've got the lead. They've got positional advantage. They've got bigger armies. They might even move in, see if they can... Certainly this Brother Captain is going to look for a revive on the Eversor Assassin. And at this point, I wonder if he'll have time... probably not. I was going to say, I wonder if he'll have time to capture this point. Maybe a decap if the Chaos players are a little bit slow to move out. But it doesn't look like he'll go for it. He's more concerned about winning the fight and forcing more Chaos units off the field, which would be better for maintaining their positional advantage. That's the Blastmaster off the field. And that's actually the concede. I did not expect that coming so quickly. That is game one going in favor of the Ordo Malleus. Well, it's time for game number 2. Game number 2 will take place on Calderis Refinery. Our first player is Inekura, playing as the Brother Captain. ... Also playing as the Brother Captain yet again, and Sergeant Smith will be on the Eversor Assassin. Their opponents, we are going to have Sir Gunter the Kaiser, this time on the Chaos Lord. Big, tanky melee hero that walks through cover and cannot be suppressed. Hiveminion, still going to be playing as the Sorcerer. And the Tenso will now be playing as the Plague Champion. Alright then, so... I gotta tell you, at the end of that last game, I actually thought my computer froze. That's how much I was not expecting that concede. Alright then. Stormtrooper is going to be taking some shots at this Plague Champion right here. He's out of cover. He's looking for the cover, but now there are 2 squads of Stormtroopers. There is also a Brother Captain. This Plague Champion's down to about half of his health. Gonna get knocked down. Even some of the Heretics got knocked down from that special attack that was procced against the Plague Champion. Heretics can't really get knocked down by a special attack like that because their melee skill prevents that from happening. Now the Brother Captain will just slowly try to chop these Heretics apart, but they are also getting Heretic Worship. Oh my, the Tenso has a triple Heretic build. So he's trying to just give them health regeneration as they continue to fight this Brother Captain. They will eventually win this. Might have given up a few models in the process, but that is a rather interesting way to start off that fight. This Chaos Lord right here moving forward. And... more Heretic Worship, Tzeentch Worship, that is. So there goes some sneaky Doom Bolts coming out of the Heretic Worship. Hit one of those Stormtrooper squads pretty well, but this position is about to be overrun. Hiveminion is going to find himself having to move back. The Heretics are so low, they need to just get out of here. I don't think the Sorcerer and the Chaos Lord, can they win this fight, actually? Actually, if the Sorcerer focuses on the Stormtroopers, but it also depends on how much he is going to get focused down. Eversor Assassin also going in super deep. He's going deep sea fishing there with how far he was away from the rest of his team and his units. Actually, this fight is still pretty much ongoing. We've still got units on both sides. Chaos Lord is being sped in, however. end this Chaos Lord. Oh no, the Stormtroopers though, why were they moving forward? I think there was still a chance there that they could have just split apart, tried to kite and focus fire the Chaos Lord, but looked like might have been some missed micros there. One Stormtrooper ended up walking right into the Chaos Lord, and he ended up being able to get a kill the weak hit on them to restore some of his health, which that's kind of something that's not really supposed to happen. Not like that, at least. Triple cap, wow. Triple cap for our Chaos players, but it's still a victory point lead for the Ordo Malleus, so they did have a victory point lead a little bit earlier on. But there's going to be a lot of good punishment coming out of our Chaos players at this time, or at least there should be. Decap will happen on the natural power node for the Ordo Malleus. And we also see some interceptors right here trying to punish the grenade launcher heretics, which it is interesting to see the grenade launcher heretics. Normally, part of the reason why melee heretics are so common for Chaos is that they are your primary melee counter. They are your primary melee counter for Chaos. Alright, so the Ordo Malleus managed to retake much of the field. Looks like, okay, I think these are 2 generators that were just put down, so they may have lost some generators. Here they even lost a node, and this is definitely some time where the Ordo Malleus is having a smaller power income than Chaos. However, Ordo Malleus trying to even that out with this Purgation squad that is currently bashing uncontested. Chaos Lord is looking to do something about that, but I think one more generator goes down before he even gets in range. Indeed, that does happen. And then they just instantly retreat, even at full health. Prevents them from losing any models whatsoever, I think. Question mark? I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, it looked like they were about to retreat through several Chaos units, but they were just at such high health that they weren't going to lose it. Some grenade launchers hitting these heretics. Grenades from the Stormtroopers, that is. And we're going to see a Plague Sword along with Fetid Armor. So early armor upgrades out of the Tenso. You don't always see this Fetid Armor because the Tier 2 armor war gear for the Plague Champion is just very heavily preferred because of, well, a few reasons, but I think the main one is just that it gives so much more health. This gives an extra 150, whereas his Tier 2 armor gives him an extra 600. So it's a much more significant health increase. They both actually have somewhat similar abilities. Unholy Stench, area of effectability that suppresses. Aura of Decay is an area of effectability that knocks down. Ooh, but that Plague Sword would be good against the Interceptors if the Plague Champion wasn't already so low on hit points. That Plague Sword ignoring melee resistance. A trait of the Plague Sword that I think people believe may have been unintentional at first, but then it was something that, at least in Elite mod, it was decided to just keep it as a special trait of the weapon. And just to be clear, melee resistance is... Some units in this game have melee resistance, which means that they just passively resist 40% of melee damage. In general, melee units typically have this. There are a few cases of ranged units, such as Tactical Marines, having it as well. So Purgation will slow down those heretics. Double Chaos Space Marines trying to put some pressure on the Purgation, but we see this Purgation squad from Sergeant Smith often just being run around to try to bash those generators, just making hit and run passes on it. Same thing is happening over here from ... Generators being pretty much just melted by the Purgation, who are at the moment uncontested. Finally, they will be suppressed by the Havocs. Strike Squad was trying to stick around, see if they could finish off that one last generator, but they could not make it happen. These are but rabble. What beautiful voice lines. My god, how many grenade launcher heretics are we going to have? And in fact, the Tenso now full on grenade launcher heretics. I mean, it's a lot of potential burst damage against the Inquisitorial Stormtroopers, but now he doesn't have anything really to answer these interceptors, aside from, I guess, the Plague Champion. So I guess the Plague Champion, he's relying on the Plague Champion for his melee countering rather than the Heretics. And then he has the Unholy Stench. That also makes more sense, the Unholy Stench allowing you to suppress, so that makes sense there as well. Actually does make a fine substitute for a melee Heretic squad, I think. Meanwhile, we are going to see the Eversor Assassin getting some similar warriors that he did last game. Not even just similar, same. He has the Executioner Pistol, the Sin Skin Body Glove, no Chem Cloud Grenades for the moment. We can have Havoc's bashing the generator here. Havoc's definitely a unit that does that quite slowly. I feel they would be much better served actually trying to suppress squads rather than bash generators, especially now that they're about to get pincered. Might lose a model or two in retreat, but it looks like they'll be okay. So the Ordo Malleus going to need to retake their natural. I do hear the sound of a Vindicator Assassin, some of those sniper shots going in. Right now it does still have the anti-infantry rounds loaded in. Also has extended operations to give him more health and health regeneration. This is a war gear that, or an upgrade that I personally feel it's both something that if I were to play Ordo Malleus, which, I mean, I have done in the past, and honestly, if I were to play it today, I would personally probably just auto-buy this. And honestly, whenever I see someone running around with the Vindicator Assassin without this, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable, just with the Vindicator Assassin only having 350 health points baseline as a single entity. That's such a small number for a single entity that I'm always just worried that if he gets jumped on by, say, Bloodletters, that he might just get wiped then and there. And 475 is still not even that big. That's still less than pretty much all regular commanders' baseline in the game, but it at least just gives you a little bit more room for error. Okay, Plague Champion just charging in here like that, but unfortunately it's not working out quite that well. The Plague Champion as a melee unit really is generally going to be more defensive because he is quite a bit slower. Alright, lots of Grey Knights in the middle right here on this contested victory point. Victory points even once again, so our victory points are even like they were in the last game. We'll see if the game itself proves to be a little bit more even and if we, how quickly or not we have a concede in this game or the end of the game. First time, I think, in the series that we've seen some Inquisitorial Operatives. Inquisitorial Operatives are equipped with shotguns. However, unlike Catachan Devils and Scouts, they do not have a shotgun blast ability. And that's just something that, you know, not that they necessarily need to, but it's just something that, after years of playing this game, it just feels intuitive to me that if a unit has shotguns, it can do a shotgun blast ability. Even the Commander Knob with his special shooter, he's got a shotgun blast ability, even though that's meant more as area of effect damage than point and click, rather than crowd control. Anyway, the Vindicator Assassin finds himself in melee with the Blood Crusher. He cannot deal with that. Instead, the Operatives just offer you a whole bunch of utility, and oh man, guess what we see? It is the Plasma Cannon Grey Knight Dreadnought, something that I personally feel is quite strong. The fact that you have both a Plasma Cannon on a vehicle that does not need to set up, so burst damage and crowd control, and you get a 51.94 piercing DPS ranged weapon. That's more than a squad of Tactical Marines. And it's almost as much, actually, I forget, actually. That might actually be more than an Assault Cannon Dreadnought. I think an Assault Cannon Dreadnought is 49, or maybe that's the range. Assault Cannon Dreadnought does have more range, though, than the Plasma Cannon Dreadnought with the Hurricane Bolter. But still, having both this Bolter and the Plasma Cannon, it still just kind of boggles my mind. It feels so good. It seems so good. Of course, though, it does have this weird trait in that it actually cannot fight in melee. Because it has two ranged weapons and no melee weapon. You're really telling me you can't just smack them with the Plasma Cannon? Alright, Silencer Purgation has pretty long range. Man, they're targeting that power node really on the edge of their range, but also doing fairly little damage.
of our strategic points.
Eversor Assassin just running on home. The victory points now looking more in favor of the Ordo Malleus. Oh no, this Havoc kind of caught in a bad position. Just getting focused down. Plasma cannon shot going in. Yeah, that was definitely a big RIP on those Havocs. They set up. They weren't even facing in the direction of the Grey Knight Dreadnought. Couldn't even take shots at it, and were just very, very quickly burned down by the rest of the Ordo Malleus units, particularly this Purgation with its incredible range. Okay, Melt-A-Bomb does go out on to the Blood Crusher. Is there enough follow-up on it? All right, that is the end of the Blood Crusher. Big knockback right there. Horn Dreadnought trying to go to town here. Oh my god! Nearly wiping the Interceptors. Can they be wiped? It's actually pretty close, but I think they'll just barely be okay. Autocannon Havoc trying to make it happen, but leaves them with 10 of their hit points. Look at that attack there. That's that splash damage connecting with every single model. Taking about 40% of the hit points away from that Inquisitorial Stormtrooper squad. Looks like we will see a dead Chaos Lord right here. 2 Plasma Cannon Dreadnoughts, both of them out of Sergeant Smith. In fact, I mean, it's a lot of vehicle armor, 1,300 hit points, and again, you get the Plasma Cannon as well as the Bolter. Ooh, Chaos Dreadnought appears to be pretty much dead in the water. We're going to see some support on the way as it tries to make its way out of here. Bloodletters! My god, diving in super deep. Unfortunately, they will not get out alive for them. The Chaos Dreadnought, oh no, it has stopped moving, and it will be finished off by the Vindicare Assassin. Brother Captain will use, or rather Terminator Librarian will use, not Might of Titan, he used Sanctuary there, but he has been upgraded to have Might of Titan. Strengthens nearby allies. Still a double cap for the Ordo Malleus, so no, just kidding, it's a single cap for them. But soon it will be a double cap because they should get back their natural. Ooh, Eversor Assassin also goes down from the double Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines from Sir Gunter the Kaiser. Tier 3 coming in for 2 of our Chaos players, Hiveminion and Gunter. ... The only player on the side of the Ordo Malleus in Tier 3. Ooh, we do see the Vindicare Assassin taking shots. I mean, already took out the Aspiring Champion, I think, or maybe it was the model on this Chaos Space Marine squad. Okay, but that is, I believe, the Summoning Circle Global, putting the hurt on the Purgation, so that's 1 Purgation squad off the field, but also some Chaos Space Marines got hit pretty hard there, I think. Purifier's coming in, trying to prove me wrong, trying to get some value here. That's another concede. Our Chaos players a little bit lacking in terms of their armies, victory points quickly escaping from them, and they're finding themselves with only 1 more chance to make this a series. Game number 3 will take place on Angstrom Heights. ... We'll be sticking to that Brother Captain. Inekura, however, switching over to the Eversor Assassin, and Sergeant Smith is still going to be playing as an Eversor Assassin. Their opponents on the side of Chaos, we're going to see a few more Chaos Lords this time. Sir Gunter as a Chaos Lord, the Tenso playing as one as well, and finally, it will be Hiveminion playing as Sindri Trophies, Chaos Sorcerer once again. Great icon there on that pauldron. Very nice. So I look things up a little bit because, you know, just in case, even if I don't remember everything, I can always just check things. So the Vindicare Assassin, not the Eversor, the Vindicare Assassin, his ammunition types are Turbo Penetrator rounds for anti-vehicle, Exodus rounds for anti-infantry, He does 120 damage per shot, so he is doing more burst damage than a sniper scout or a ranger squad would do. Anyway, Eversor Assassin here looking to get into melee. Psychon will be activated. Again, spends 100 of his hit points, but he increases his damage and defense. However, he is going to get knocked down there by the Chaos Lord as he tries to slice up the Heretics. Heretics getting pretty low, but they managed to activate a Doom Blast to suppress both the Strike Squad as well as the Eversor Assassin. Eversor Assassin, however, recovers from his suppression, decides to go tie up the Chaos Space Marines, gets a nice special attack, particularly nice there because these Chaos Space Marines do respectable melee damage, and this Eversor Assassin does not have that much health left, and Sergeant Smith realizes that he could actually end up losing the Eversor Assassin there in an extended fight against the Chaos Space Marines unless he gets super lucky with lots of special attack procs. Oh, the good old classic, brother, I am hit. Chaos Lord moving back just a little bit, but they will kind of set up a position by this power node. I wonder if the Chaos Space Marines are in range to fire. I guess not. No, I don't know. Okay, instead they'll actually focus on the Eversor Assassin here. Pretty low, once again. So Inekura having to get his Eversor Assassin out. And Chaos Lord's in here as well. I don't think he has Kill the Weak ready because he most likely used it because he was missing some energy there. Chaos Lord for the Tenso, though, has Kill the Weak ready, does hit it, does get some healing off of it. Alright, it does look like Chaos are going to find themselves having to exit at this time. This is some interesting heretic worship, probably just to speed the Chaos Space Marines down to the bottom, trying to keep them in play without retreating them, but I don't know how much that's going to work. He's even going to try to stop to spend some time to kite the Eversor Assassin. I think the Heretics is just straight up time for them to retreat. I think these Chaos Space Marines need to as well, or they're going to find themselves getting caught on their retreat path. Yeah, and they realize it too. So they will just be retreated. That will, of course, leave this generator farm open to attack. However, although that was, I believe, Sir Gunter in retreat, this is the Tenso here to try to answer the purgation. So I see some of the thinking behind having the Chaos Lord. The Chaos Lord can actually just kind of walk straight up to the purgation squad without having to fear being suppressed. Although I believe he still can be slowed. But he also does have a pretty big health pool, and with that health pool, he can probably withstand a lot of the flame damage coming out of the purgation. He more has to worry about the damage coming out of the stormtroopers. And oh my, we have a lot of grenade launchers on these stormtroopers. So those grenade launchers are going to be using their barrages to knock some of those Chaos Space Marines back. Chaos Space Marines starting to feel be a little low on hit points. Taking a lot of burst damage from the grenade launchers as well as the banishment out of those strike squads. We're going to see upgraded Chaos Lord out of the Tenso with that Dark Halo. Just giving him a lot more potential health to work with. But right now, all of that extra health to work with in the form of that energy shield is pretty much gone. He's trying to reactivate it for those small amounts of extra health that he's getting as the energy regenerates, but it's not enough. Doom Bolts go in from long range, do connect with a few models. I feel like that Doom Bolt seemed like less impactful than they should have been. Eversor Assassin once again activating Psychon, trying to get into range of the Chaos Space Marines. At this point, I was wondering if that last swing was going to get a model. Does this one? It does! He managed to get one model before he retreats out of there, which is pretty good for him. He has enough hit points that I don't think he would go down in retreat from these Heretics, and of course the Heretics would have to worry about the on-death explosion from the Eversor Assassin, if they even were able to succeed in getting that kill. Chaos Space Marines will be in green cover right here, but it's a green cover to green cover battle with the Strike Squad in here as well. Oh no, Heretics attempting to approach, but they just get nuked down by the banishment from that Strike Squad. Inekura with a huge build, triple Stormtroopers and double strikes. To be fair though, it is a build that is at least low on power to field. So in that sense, and his power upgrades, his power usage, instead of going into tier 1.5 units, he actually just got upgrades on every single one of his baseline squads. And this is actually pretty impressive from Inekura. It's so the 3 stormtroopers with grenade launchers, a lot of potential disruption with those barrages, a lot of potential burst damage out of both the grenade launcher stormtroopers as well as the strike squads with those Tomes of Titan. Again, this still being on the old patch where banishment has not yet been nerfed. Good old Diomedes with all of those best lines. The fight is here! Diomedes, he left the Blood Ravens to join the Ordo Malleus, where he became a brother captain. Oh man, I even wonder if some of you have no idea what I'm talking about if you don't remember Apollo Diomedes, the main character of the Retribution campaign, and just how much that was a meme in the early years of Retribution because of the ridiculous voice lines for him. I still remember it, and I still love it. I hope you do too. In the meantime, Chaos Lord will be in a hand-to-hand fight with the Eversor Assassin, but it's not a fair fight, as the Chaos Lord does have the support of his Chaos Space Marines and another Chaos Lord. This is a super slow generator bash here. I think some units are going to be retargeting in other areas because here we have an army coming down. It's Inekura's army with the double strikes and the triple Inquisitorial Stormtroopers. Again, a lot of burst damage. Probably just double... Okay, banishment goes out onto the heretics, and the grenade launcher shots went onto... or the grenade barrages went onto the Havoc. But it looks like it's going to be a lost fight for Inekura. Not sure if he necessarily used his resources in the best way that he could have there, but it might have also just been that he was going to lose that fight regardless. This should be a dead Eversor Assassin unless they don't want it. Yeah, force melee there would have killed the Eversor Assassin. Would have caused the on-death explosion, though. Would have knocked them back. Would have done some damage to the Chaos Space Marines. Might have actually been harder for them to continue to bash these generators. And it would also be an easy revive for one of the other Ordo Malleus players. So grenades, I mean, look at the burst damage that those grenades do against the Chaos Space Marines. That being said, great generator bash happening there from the Tenso. He's getting a lot done here with his Chaos Space Marines. Don't think he'll have time to finish off the node, however. Chaos Space Marines even going to get knocked down, and that will be their cue to retreat. Vindicare Assassin taking out yet more models. Scored himself a Chaos Space Marine model. Exodus rounds are loaded in, and he gets another Chaos Space Marine model. I think this Chaos Space Marine squad needs to go. One more shot will finish off the Chaos Space Marines. Again, 120 damage per shot from that Vindicare Assassin. Malignant Blindness is used, however. Probably for this engagement right here. Although I believe this is a sort... No, this is both. Oh, a Dreadnought on Dread fight. Chaos Dreadnought decides not to continue peppering it with that autocannon fire. Can do more damage to it. Eversor Assassin has been upgraded with his charge. He's going to completely miss everything. Oh my god, he went super deep sea fishing on that one. And he should go down for it. Just force melee, that's it. And then the Chaos Dreadnought doesn't even care that much about the on-death explosion from the Eversor Assassin. Grenades continuing to be lobbed in from those ISTs. standoff right here, but the grenade launcher stormtroopers, they've got such long range. They can just poke you down at the start, force a move out of you, and then it's actually Inekura who continues to take the initiative, and he's just nuking them with all of these strong Ordo Malleus spells. Bloodletters, not brother letters. Bloodletters about to teleport in. Bloodletters will scare off the strike squad. No, that's the purgation squad. Got confused by the secondary models on the purgation squad. Apparently, when you upgrade to the conversion beamer, the secondary models on the purgation actually look like strike squad models. Oh, and that's going to be a dead Grey Knight Dreadnought. Finished off by the Lascannon Havoc at long range. Chaos Lord is in here for the Tenso. Very, very tanky now with this current build. Might want to put a weapon on this Chaos Lord, though. He's very tanky, but his damage output is a little bit weak. He's got the Mantle of Hate. Grants the Life Drain ability, or Drain Life ability. And he does also have the Dark Halo. So our Chaos player's really pushing forward here. Perhaps the double Chaos Lord is working out well for them, and Sir Gunter's Chaos Lord completely unupgraded. But the Dreadnought out of Sir Gunter has been getting some pretty good value, putting pressure on the Grey Knight Dreadnought at range. We're going to see a second Grey Knight Dreadnought from Sergeant Smith, and this one will, of course, get that Plasma Cannon and Hurricane Bolter. I mean, the funny thing is, whenever we have an Ordo Malleus game and we see one of these, I always feel the urge to just talk about this unit and how much I can't believe it. I feel like the Plasma Cannon and the Hurricane Bolter, I feel like these could be separate exclusive upgrades. Like, I feel like you could have a Plasma Cannon on this thing and it would be good, and I feel like you could have a Hurricane Bolter on this thing and it would be good. And just one of them by themselves would be good. I think that's actually how it used to be. I think there used to be... I think it used to have separate upgrades where I think the Plasma Cannon was just an upgrade by itself. Anyway, a pretty nice push there from Sergeant Smith as well as his teammates. Inekura, of course, with the double strike, double ISTs. And what's going on right here? We have Bloodletters as well as Heretics just trying to bash this generator farm. They're going to get hit left and right, literally left and right, by grenade barrages, however, and get knocked down. That was weird. That was a very interesting trajectory for that particular Plasma Cannon shot. It looked rather strange. Grenade barrage goes in against absolutely nothing. This time grenade barrage actually goes in on a squad. It goes in on the Chaos Space Marines. They would also be pretty overwhelmed here by Inekura's Cheese Festivan army. And more Plasma Cannon shots going in. Plasma Cannon shot goes in. Bio Meltdown also activated by the Eversor Assassin. Just all of this area of effect damage going in near him. Heretics trying to escape from it. Oh my god, the range on that is also pretty big. One Heretic squad going to go down, and the Eversor Assassin also going to be drained. Is going to go down. Oh, the on-death explosion took out all of the remaining Heretic models on this Heretic squad, only leaving the Aspiring Champion intact. The on-death explosion also quite powerful when Bio Meltdown is activated. And again, this is also something that's particularly strong on this patch, which again is the old patch. That's something that most likely was nerfed a bit in the current patch, which actually is out now. Okay, double cap for the Ordo Malleus, but a lead in victory points for Chaos. Double Bloodletters on the side of the Tenso. Vindicare Assassin taking more shots with those Exodus rounds. Banishment goes in. Oh man, the Vindicare Assassin is actually being pretty oppressive right now. Very much like the Sniper Scouts and Rangers of old. Of course, you can only get one of them, so you can't be quite as cheesy with just like auto-bursting squads by having multiple of him the way you used to be able to do, and in retail you still can do. Another Bloodletter teleport in. Let's see what they achieve with this. They're going to go for the Terminators, or rather they find themselves next to the Terminators and then decide they just want to get out of there. So not too much achieved with that teleport. Eversor Assassin was able to get, rather Vindicare Assassin was able to get out of the way. Vindicare with a level, he's got a level and he has the extended operation, so his health is not too bad now at 510. He's getting close to what some commanders might have baseline. Bio Meltdown activated yet again by the Eversor Assassin, and Sir Gunter is just deciding that he does not want to deal with this at all. Hiveminion, however, does not have his heavy weapon team or his Havoc out here just yet. That will be a kill on the Eversor Assassin, however. So that Bio Meltdown, it created space, but he also lost the Eversor Assassin in a place that's not going to be an easy revive. And also didn't actually get much out of that on-death explosion because the only units nearby were 2 Chaos Lords who really don't care that much about it. So finally some more upgrades. Let the Galaxy burn out of Sir Gunter. Hiveminion with only the Vestments of the Warp. The Vestments of the Warp by itself is not too strong in my opinion. I really feel like if you want to be tying up squads, you need an upgraded weapon on that Sorcerer. Otherwise, he's just not that powerful in melee. But I mean, a tie-up is still a tie-up, and you can still prevent the Vindicare Assassin from firing. You can still prevent a Purgation Squad from firing. So in that sense, it's not terrible. Okay, that will be Paladins called out onto the field. Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines walking right into that, and Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines are actually a counter to Paladins. They just don't want to be in melee with the Paladins. They want to be at a safe distance, just firing at the Paladins. And then they are actually one of the best sources of damage that Chaos has against the Paladins. That is going to be a Dreadnought down, taken out by the Predator. Does the Predator make it out of here alive? Okay, I think it does. It will get in range of the Warship. Oh, the Warship is actually from a different player. Just kidding. Or is it? No, it's from the same player. Why didn't he infiltrate? I guess maybe because he was still firing. But Chaos Predator only got out of there with 140 hit points. That's not a lot.
Chaos target destroyed.
A lot of damage being put on these Stormtroopers by this autocannon Dreadnought. Man, this autocannon Dreadnought has been one of the surprising stars of this game. Getting a lot more value than I would expect an autocannon Dreadnought to get, especially this late into the game with no upgrade. Now, with the way things work in Elite Mod at this point, the baseline autocannon Dreadnought for Chaos is really the only generalist one. It's the only versatile one, where it can just kind of be effective against all targets. The Tzeentch Dreadnought over time was made more specialized, made it so that it wasn't good against everything, and made it so that it was more of an anti-vehicle specialization, long-range anti-vehicle specialization. And then the Khorne Dreadnought obviously is melee only, so you can't just... Well, actually not technically, I believe you keep the hull-mounted bolter, but you lose the autocannon. So it's mostly only effective in melee. Anyway, what are our Chaos players going to do about this? We've got the double heavy weapon team. However, one of them will effectively be taken out by the double banishment. The second one still being allowed to fire. Grenades going in, but not quite there. That's going to be an Imperial... No, that's not. It was looking like an Imperial Abyss. That must have been a Let the Galaxy Burn. Here's going to be something else, though. Are those some Terminators being called in right on the point? Yes, they are. Well, not on the point, but just right behind enemy lines, which I do think is the ideal way to use Terminators. a Terminator call-in, or really any call-in. They're going to take out the Vindicator Assassin. Oh my god, if they just... I don't know if they have enough range damage. Can they finish off the Vindicator Assassin? 15, 16, they're not targeting many, they're trying. They do finish off the Vindicator Assassin. That is a good play and a good... That definitely made that aggressive call-in with the Terminators worth it. So really any on-the-field call-in, the ideal way to use them is to actually use them to help you win an engagement, not simply to just get the unit. But take advantage of the fact that you can place them anywhere you have vision to put them in an advantageous position that will help you win the fight. In that case, though, I'm not even sure if the Chaos team actually won the fight. They're being pushed back. They did take out the Vindicator Assassin with that call-in, though. And that was also that Vindicator Assassin... Yeah, that was the 500 health Vindicator Assassin who was level 2. He might have even gone up to level 3 before he died. So that's a pretty big loss. We do have a replacement Vindicator. This Vindicator, though, however, is completely unupgraded and completely inexperienced, so he only has the starting 350 hit points. So I think it needs to be like a Chaos Lord with the Dark Halo going onto the point to try to... Oh, he wants the revive first. But then I feel like he should go onto the victory point, activate the Dark Halo to try to get that victory point. Oh no, the Predator. This is a Predator. There it is. So Tenso's on the point. He's actually trying to capture it without the Dark Halo active. Okay, now he finally activates the Dark Halo. Does activate Kill the Weak, but Sanctuary, I think, is going to knock him off the point. So he gets the decap, but not the full cap. Lightning Claw Chaos Terminators trying to get in here, but they're so low in hit points. They need to get out. Oh, that's one model down. At this point, I think, okay, this is Sergeant Smith's Eversor Assassin. And he has the cybernetic enhancement. It's actually, I wanted to read the description on that because it's actually the first time I've ever actually seen someone get that in a game. And before I can even finish that thought, that is the end of this game. Chaos conceding once again, meaning that this is a 3-0 clean sweep in favor of the Ordo Malleus. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a good night.